I had just hung up the phone with my grandfather. I make it a point to call and chat with him at least once a week. I was getting ready to start dinner for myself, looking forward to a bath afterwards. As I was in the process of plugging my phone into the charger for the night, I was startled by an incoming text message. I was taken back because I don't usually get text messages too often. Plus, a while back, I lost my phone and had to get a new one, so I lost most of my contacts as well. I opened the message that read, "Hey girl, it's been a while. How have you been?" I'm thinking, as I text back, "Who is this?" "It's Melissa." I was so excited and quickly text back, "Melissa Cannon?" I hadn't heard from Melissa for a few years. We were good friends in college, but life and responsibilities had distracted us from staying in touch. "Yes, it's me," she responded, followed by another text. "The reason I'm reaching out is, well, to see if you might be interested in going camping next weekend." It had been several years since I had been on a camping trip. I used to go rock climbing and camping a few times a month, and I definitely missed it. So I text her back, "Where are you going camping?" "We're going to Arrowpoint the 6th through the 9th. "Sounds great," I said. "Count me in." She texts me back asking, "Are you available for a phone call? Can you talk right now?" I responded, "I actually just finished dinner and about to take a bath, which is my quiet time for meditation and relaxation. Can we talk tomorrow?" "Sure, I totally understand. Give me a call tomorrow." I then slipped into a hot bath. My window cracked, letting in the night's subtle cool breeze, candles lit, escaping into serenity. Out of the bath, a good snuggle with my cat, and I fell into a deep sleep. The next day I called Melissa and we talked for about an hour. Reminiscing and gossiping, we both got in our share of laughs and couldn't wait to see each other. The week had finally passed, and the day was here to finally go camping. I had packed everything up the night before, only because we were all set on meeting at Arrowpoint bright and early. Plans had changed, and we were now set to meet mid-afternoon. I was rather impressed that so many people had arrived close to the same time. As I hopped out of my car, I could hear a nearby station wagon playing one of my favorite bands, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, on their stereo. There were a few other people I knew from college, and we were all excited to see each other, exchanging hugs and hellos. I knew we were in for a great time this weekend. I asked one of the girls I knew, "Where's Melissa? I'm surprised she isn't here yet." Well, she was picking up Megan on her way, who happens to be, from what I was told, 8 months pregnant. So that's likely why she's running late. I couldn't help but blurt out, "Who in the hell goes camping when they're 8 months pregnant?" "That was my thought exactly," she replied. "Oh, here comes Melissa," someone shouted. I looked down the dirt road to see the gray Jeep bouncing along, honking the horn and flashing the headlights with dust trailing behind her. Melissa pulled in, hopped out of her Jeep, and immediately made her way over to give me a big hug. Her passenger waddled out of the vehicle and made her way towards us at a snail's pace. "This is my friend Megan." "Nice to meet you," Megan said as we exchanged hellos. I had been informed previously that Megan was pregnant, but seeing her was surprisingly overwhelming. I mean, to see a woman in this state at a campsite was astounding. There was no running water or plumbing, barely any cell phone service, and miles from the nearest town. It just didn't seem like an appropriate or comfortable predicament for someone who was 8 months pregnant. However, Megan seemed to be in good spirits and was smiling and laughing, so she must have been content with being there. I then asked Melissa, "Have you talked to the Freeman brothers, Chuck and Daryl?" "Yes, they are both coming," Melissa said. "Oh my God, I haven't seen them in years," I replied. "I do have to warn you though," Melissa started. "Chuck, well, he isn't doing so well, and Daryl is pretty much taking care of him now, trying to keep him in line. I'm surprised you haven't heard. Chuck was in a car accident a few years back. It was a head-on collision, and his best friend, who was sitting passenger, was killed. So ever since then, Chuck has been struggling with some alcohol problems and anger issues. Damn, girl, you really need to get on Facebook. Yeah, I guess I'm really out of the loop. Melissa then said, so Allison and Nicole will be here as well. They ended up getting married. Allison and Nicole were best friends in college and very close. They were both stars on the school swim team and spent all of their time together. That's good, I said. So, do they both have children now too? Oh no, it's not what you're thinking. They are married. To each other. Duh, they're lesbians. Jeez, you need to get on Facebook. Oh my god, I guess so, I said as we both laughed. Just then, Tim approached us with his dog following closely by his side. Hey, Tim, we both said. Hey, Melissa. Oh my god, is that you, Shelley? Wow, it's been a while. You look great. Tim said as we embraced in a tight hug, squeezing and lifting me up, ended with the typical Tim, light smacks on the butt. It's great to see you, I said as we both smiled and nodded at each other. What are you ladies talking about over here? Tim inquired. Oh, we're just catching up. How have you been? And who is this cute little furry fella you've got with you? I said. I've been good. Great, really. And this here's Lady. She just turned 3 2 days ago. What kind of dog is she? I asked while leaning down to give her some attention. She's a mutt, really. She was a rescue, and I think she is part boxer and maybe German Shepherd, but hell, I don't know. She sure is cute, I said while she was excitedly panting and wagging her tail. You gals ready for a drink? Tim asked. I've got a cooler full of PBR and a bottle of Tullamore. I'll take a beer, Melissa said. How about you, Shelley? I'm good on the beer. I brought myself some Angry Orchard, but I'll take a swig of whiskey with you. Hell yeah, Tim exclaimed as we headed towards his truck. Tim had managed his dad's bar and grill back in our college days, where Melissa and I were fortunate to work at. Unfortunately, it would ultimately lead to us all parting ways. Our friend Jessica also worked there. She had become pregnant and needed money to leave her abusive boyfriend. She was going to take off and go live with her grandmother. And one night, as we were all closing and about to get out of there, the whole shift sale was short by about $900. Both Melissa and I knew it had to have been Jessica that took the money. However, we ended up taking the blame for it. Tim was shocked and disappointed. He ended up firing both of us. We all got into a huge fight and said some really terrible things to each other, which is really what tore our friendship apart. A couple of days after the stolen money incident, Tim would come to realize it was Jessica who'd taken the cash after she stopped showing up for her shifts and her asshole boyfriend came to the bar looking for her. It was nice to be back together again after so much time passing, and our vicious fight seemed like a lifetime ago. Out of sync, we heard several voices yelling, "Heads up, heads up, heads up!" as a rogue frisbee struck Melissa in the shoulder and abruptly fell to the ground. Sorry, Mel, my bad. Ouch, you jerk, Melissa yelled, grabbing her shoulder. Lady quickly retrieved the frisbee that lay at our feet and darted off. Guess it's hers now, Tim yelled out while reaching into the cooler to grab a couple of beers. Crack it open, Shelley, he said as he handed me the bottle of whiskey. I'll take a shot with y'all, a female voice rung out. The three of us turned our heads in unison. Melissa cracked her beer. Hi, I'm Brandy. I'm Jonathan's girlfriend. Cool. Yeah, okay, Tim said. I don't think any of us knew who she was, and I don't think any of us knew who Jonathan was either. But Tim played it off pretty well. We drinking out of the bottle, or do you have some shot glasses? Brandy asked. I could tell by the look on Tim's face he was not really interested in sharing out of the bottle with this random girl. Without responding, he handed Brandy a plastic cup, then cracked open his beer. Melissa finished the last swig of her beer and threw the empty can into the back of Tim's truck while saying, Fuck yeah, let's take a shot. I poured some whiskey into Brandy's cup as Melissa was reaching into the cooler for another PBR. I raised the bottle and said, Cheers. Tim raised his can, Brandy with her cup, and we all said, Cheers. I tilted the bottle to take my drink. Brandy slammed her shot. I finished mine and passed the bottle to Tim. He raised it up and said, "Here's to Jessica and her bastard child." The three of us laughed while Brandy had a confused and somewhat disturbed look on her face. Tim took a big swallow, then winced and shivered while passing the whiskey to Melissa. She handed me her unopened beer to hold. "Get it, girl," I cheered her on as she took her shot. She handed the bottle back to Tim and opened the beer I passed back to her. "Thanks, y'all," Brandy said. "Can I get a few beers for me and Jonathan?" No problem," Tim said, handing her a couple of cans. Tim had always been polite. His slight smirk and eyebrow raise indicated to me that he was just happy to get rid of her. We continued chatting with a few more drinks while more people continued to arrive. Tim's dog, Lady, had returned, tuckered out and still chewing on the now destroyed Frisbee. The red hot chili peppers were still blaring from what I assumed was Jonathan's station wagon. Brandy was sitting in the passenger seat, smoking a joint, screaming along with the lyrics and dancing. We all had been unpacking our gear and setting up our tents. Some of the people in the group were just going to sleep in the back of their trucks for the night. The evening was approaching into sunset. It was a beautiful sky that projected pinks, purples, and oranges, reflecting off the glass, calm lake. I was feeling great, partially from the surrounding beauty of the wilderness, and partially from the drinks and company. I had just finished off a 6-pack of Angry Orchard and probably my 3rd or 4th shot of whiskey, but who's counting? Maybe it was 5. Well, it was definitely less than 7. Earlier, Daryl and Chuck formed a circle of rocks, stacked up plenty of wood, and were now starting the campfire. Allison and Nicole, the newlywed lesbians, were definitely tipsy. The two of them had been sharing a bottle of Jameson and standing by Tim's cooler, tossing out beers to anybody with open hands. "Over here, I'll take one." "Hell yeah, I'll take one too," followed by the sounds of cans popping open. Tim opened the door to his truck. He reached into the back seat and pulled out his guitar. "Who wants to hear something?" he said. "We ain't gonna be able to hear shit with them peppers playing all night," Nicole shouted towards the station wagon. "Let's get that fire going too," Tim said. Chuck seemed pretty wasted already. He was drenching the logs with lighter fluid, then gasoline, all while stumbling back and forth. Daryl then yelled out, Hey, that should be plenty good there, Chuck. I don't think the gasoline was necessary." "What are you trying to burn the forest down?" Melissa yelled out. Chuck responded in a drunk, angry voice. "God damn it, Melissa, I know what the fuck I'm doing." He then threw the gas can off to the side like an asshole, struck a match, and the drinking continued, and Tim started playing his guitar. Nicole then shouted again out towards the station wagon. "Hey, turn the fucking music off already." Someone I didn't know yelled out, "You tell him, Nick." Nicole continued, getting louder. "They must have played that fucking song like 10 times already." I could see Brandy and the guy in the driver's seat both giving Nicole the finger. "What a bunch of assholes," Melissa and Tim said at the same time. "If I get those fingers again, I'm going to twist off his dick and feed it to the bitch," Nicole said. We were all laughing. However, I wouldn't want to fuck with Nicole, or Nick, as some like to call her nowadays. She wasn't really butch or manly, but her voice was raspy, and honestly, her face, well, you get the picture. I'm not one to judge, really, though I do have to say her girlfriend, or wife, if you will, is pretty damn fit and very sexy. The blaring stereo had gone silent. The music was finally off. It was now just the sounds of guitar strings and firewood popping and crackling. It was a bit chilly, however the heat from the fire kept me warm and comfortable. The scent of the campfire was relaxing, although I knew tomorrow my clothes would be saturated with the smoky smell. The silence was broken when Chuck yelled out, "Fuck life. Life sucks. It's all fucking fake and pretend. No, get off me, Daryl. I don't need you fucking babying me." Then, yelling even louder while stumbling off into the forest, "Fuck everybody." Then Brandy, our chili pepper girl, yelled out, "Psycho!" Then started laughing hysterically. I could see Daryl trying to ignore her outburst while shaking his head in disappointment. He pointed to the bottle that was sitting at Tim's chair side. "Do you mind, Tim?" Daryl asked. "Not at all, brother. Have at it," Tim said as he picked up the bottle and handed it to Daryl. It was surprising because Daryl is not a big drinker. Hell, honestly, I think this was the first time I had ever seen him drink. "Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry about all that," Daryl said as he took a sip. Brandy chimed in again. "Yeah, let's party, bitches!" Her boyfriend started honking his horn with taps of enjoyment, flicking his brights while turning his stereo back up to full blast. Nicole yelled back, "Fuck you, you motherfucker!" or something to that degree. As loud as she was, it was hard to make it out over the music and everyone else who had now started in with their own shit-talking. It seemed like everyone had something to say at this point. Even Lady started barking and snarling, showing her teeth. Nicole picked up a pretty good-sized rock and started quickly walking towards the station wagon. Allison attempted to stop her, but couldn't. She got to the front bumper and chucked the rock into the windshield. It didn't go all the way through, but stuck and fractured it with a web-like pattern. There was now a clusterfuck of people half-circling the station wagon. Nicole screamed at the top of her lungs, "Come on, get some, you motherfucker!" while throwing her hands in the air with confidence along with 2 middle fingers. I was at a distance, but immediately I could see Allison trying to hold Nicole back and pull her away. Brandy's boyfriend was quick to get out of the car. Tim tossed his guitar to the ground and headed towards them. He had jumped in front of Nicole to protect her and hold her back from the confrontation. The half-circle had now escalated into a ball of people fighting. Brandy got out of the car and rushed towards Nicole. Unfortunately, Melissa stepped in between and Brandy smashed her half-full beer can straight into her face, grabbed a handful of hair, and kept hitting her with a balled-up right fist. Daryl dropped the bottle he was holding, which landed on a rock, smashing to pieces, and ran over to pull Brandy off of Melissa. The headlights were casting silhouettes of the bodies engaged in physical confrontation. I could see dust rising and accumulating as the brawl continued to accelerate. Daryl had managed to pull them apart while suffering some dog bites in the process. Melissa was struggling to get up, crawling with blood streaming from her nose. Lady was distraught and confused, running here and there, left then right, out of panic, jumping on Melissa to lick her bloody face as if she was trying to pamper and care for her. As bad as it looked, she really was trying to protect her. Both paws on Melissa's shoulders, then turning sporadically with her back paws, leaping towards anybody getting close. Snapping, growling, and barking loudly at them as if she were in danger. Tim then yelled out, "This motherfucker stabbed me, he's got a knife!" I have to say, adrenaline is something amazing. Even though Tim had been stabbed, he was still trying to fight. 10 to 15 seconds later, he fell to the ground, clutching his side. The brawl was starting to dissipate. Brandy and Jonathan were now standing next to each other, breathing heavily. Jonathan yelled out towards Nicole, "You want to get cut too, you manly bitch? Well, come on. You're not so loud now, are you?" Nicole took off running towards her car. Allison was shouting at her, "No, Nicole, no, don't do it!" Tim was laid out on his stomach, and it looked like he was bleeding pretty badly. I wanted to call 911 and get help. I was sick to my stomach. I didn't know where my phone was, not to mention phone service was non-existent at the campsite. I didn't know what to do. I yelled out, "Tim needs help, he's been stabbed!" As if everyone didn't already know. Everything was happening so fast, the whole situation was so loud, and then... Outside of the gunshot echoing through the canyon and the car stereo still on full blast, there was an awkward silence from anyone who had a voice. Except Nicole, who had fired a shot into the air while walking back from her car. Pointing the gun in Jonathan's direction while fastly approaching him, shouting, "Fuck, motherfuckers!" She stopped about 10 feet away from him. "Who's not so manly now?" Jonathan was backing up and dropped the knife while raising both of his hands in the air. Nicole, both hands on the gun, with a can't-miss type of aim, kept at him. "That's right, keep your hands up, you man bitch." She then pointed the gun at Brandy, her eyes still locked on Jonathan, then quickly shifting her glare at Brandy, saying, "Bitch, get in the car, turn that shit off. Now, move, jump, bitch." Then aiming the gun back towards Jonathan. At this point, a lot of people started jumping in their cars, not wanting to stick around, and even leaving their tents, chairs, and coolers behind. Dirt and rocks were kicked up everywhere, along with the sound of tires peeling out and taillights barely showing through the cloud of dust. I often wonder why, and look back on that night asking myself, why didn't I leave? The gunshot should have been sobering. Yet I was still, I'm still not sure, honestly. In your case, you're probably laughing at me. I don't blame you. When you haven't been around old friends for a while, and the next thing you know, you all get to hang out and interact again, it can be a type of high. A high that brings you back to a youth-like setting or state of mind. This situation led to an unforgettable, life-altering experience. I can easily go back to the story, with Nicole pointing the gun at Jonathan's face, telling him, "Balls are included with a dildo, you fuck." Okay, whatever. Go figure. Yeah, easily could have been a felony for Nicole. Now, in some strange way, and with a good lawyer, maybe self-defense or manslaughter, maybe straight-up murder, first or second. Had she pulled the trigger, could have been life without parole. Without Allison crying out and grabbing Nicole by the shoulders, snapping her out of the anger and back to a state of reality, it could have sadly been a possibility. Brandy and Jonathan slithered into their car and left immediately after Nicole lowered her gun, broken windshield and all. Nicole and Allison were quick to leave too, once they had calmed down. Then there's Melissa, who spends the next week in a lot of pain from some crazy chick who smashed a half-full beer can over her face. And 3 months later, underwent surgery for a nose she never liked anyway. Have her tell this story, and she'll make it sound like the camping trip was the only reason for the new nose she always wanted. Daryl and I loaded the wounded Tim into his truck. I was able to get Lady into the back of my car before Daryl sped off to seek some medical attention. Come to find out, Tim was stabbed 4 times and spent a few days in the ICU, but made a full recovery. After tending to Melissa, I grabbed my things and headed out with Lady to meet Daryl and Tim at the hospital. Melissa and Megan were the only ones who stayed, waiting for Chuck to return at Daryl's request. Leaving Arrowpoint, the winding road back down the canyon was a very different drive than the one I had took getting there. A month had passed, and we all got together again to celebrate Tim's birthday, minus the station wagon couple, of course. To this day, no one really knew who they were. And now that I'm on Facebook and still trying to figure it all out, Marketplace is easy enough to navigate. I came across a guitar that looked similar to Tim's, and I got it for him for a birthday gift. Daryl and Melissa arrived to the party together with a bottle of Tullamore Dew, balloons, and a new chew toy for Lady. Megan and Chuck, who are now dating, joined us for the celebration as well, and we got to meet the new baby. Nicole and Allison showed up late, shuffling through the patio door into the backyard, carrying a cooler of PBR. They set it down and opened it. Nicole reached in and started tossing out beers to everyone without even asking. All of the laughter and open hands catching Nicole's beer bombs was the icing on the cake. It was great to get together. Needless to say, we don't have any camping trips planned for the future.